In 2026, researchers fed every measurement, every survey, every excavation record, every geological analysis, and every astronomical calculation ever conducted on Stonehenge into an AI system, and asked it a question that no human researcher had ever been able to answer comprehensively. What is this thing? Not what it looks like, not when it was built, not who built it. What is it? What is the entire structure? The stones, the holes, the ditches, the alignments, the dimensions, the acoustics, the materials, the geometry, actually designed to do. The AI processed centuries of data in hours. It cross-referenced astronomical tables, geological surveys, acoustic measurements, and archaeological records that had been collected by separate teams, in separate decades, working in separate disciplines, who had never combined their findings into a single, unified analysis. And the answer it returned was not a temple, it was not a burial ground, it was not a calendar. The answer was all three at once, and something else entirely. Stonehenge, according to the AI analysis, is a multifunction precision instrument. An astronomical calculator capable of predicting eclipses using the 56 Aubrey holes as a computational device tracking the Moon's 18.6-year nodal cycle. An acoustic resonance chamber whose sarsen circle was deliberately engineered to produce sound frequencies at exactly 10 Hz, the frequency of alpha brain waves, the frequency associated with meditative states and altered consciousness, and a monument constructed from stones that were transported nearly 200 miles, not because of their appearance, not because of their size, but because they sing. The bluestones of Stonehenge, sourced from the Preseli Hills in Wales, are lithophones. When struck, they produce metallic, bell-like tones, sounds that no local stone on Salisbury Plain can replicate. The builders did not choose these stones despite the difficulty of transporting them. They chose them because of a property that only becomes apparent when you hit them. And the AI found that none of these functions, the astronomical, the acoustic, the lithophonic, operate in isolation. They are integrated. They work together. The astronomy tells you when, the acoustics tell you how, the stones provide the instrument, and the result is something that 5,000 years of human inquiry had never fully grasped, a machine for altering human consciousness timed to the movements of the cosmos. To understand what the AI found, you have to understand what Stonehenge actually is, not the tourist attraction, not the postcard image, but the physical structure as it existed 5,000 years ago. Stonehenge was not built once. It was built in phases over a period spanning more than 1,500 years, beginning around 3000 BCE. The earliest phase was not stone at all. It was a circular ditch and bank, a henge, with an internal diameter of roughly 320 feet, featuring at least two entrances, one of which faced northeast toward the midsummer sunrise. Inside this henge, the builders dug 56 holes in a precise circle, evenly spaced, at a diameter of approximately 285 feet. These are the Aubrey holes, named after the 17th century antiquarian John Aubrey, who first recorded them. They are chalk pits, roughly 3 feet in diameter, and they were filled and refilled over centuries, some with cremated human remains, some with chalk rubble, and some apparently with timber posts or stones that were later removed. 56 holes, not 50, not 60. 56. That number is not arbitrary, and it took a Harvard astronomer with an IBM computer to figure out why. In 1963, Gerald Hawkins, a professor of astronomy at Boston University, published a paper in Nature that changed the conversation about Stonehenge permanently. Using the Harvard-Smithsonian IBM 7090 computer, Hawkins analyzed 165 significant features of the monument and checked every possible alignment between them against every rising and setting point for the sun, the moon, the planets, and bright stars as they would have appeared in 1500 BCE. He found not one or two alignments. He found dozens. He found 13 solar correlations and 11 lunar correlations that were precise enough to be statistically significant. Stonehenge was not vaguely oriented toward the sun. It was a precision astronomical observatory, engineered to track the movements of both the sun and the moon with an accuracy that implied generations of careful observation before a single stone was placed. But the most important finding was about the Aubrey holes. Hawkins demonstrated that by moving marker stones around the ring of 56 holes, according to simple rules, a user could track the position of the moon's orbital nodes, the 2 points where the moon's orbit crosses the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun. These nodes are invisible. They are mathematical abstractions. But they are the key to predicting eclipses, because eclipses can only occur when the sun and moon are both near a node. The nodes complete a full circuit of the sky every 18.6 years. This is the lunar nodal cycle. 56 divided by 3 is 18.67. 3 complete circuits of the Aubrey holes, moving a marker stone 1 position per year, takes 56 years. 3 nodal cycles of 18.6 years each equals 55.8 years. The match is 99.6% accurate. The 56 Aubrey holes are a lunar eclipse computer. They allow a user with no technology beyond marker stones and the patience to observe to predict when eclipses will occur, not just in the current year, but decades into the future. Fred Hoyle, the Cambridge cosmologist, refined Hawkins's model further. By using 4 marker stones, 1 for the sun, 1 for the moon, and 2 for the nodes, and moving them around the Aubrey holes at specific intervals, he showed that the system could track not just eclipses, but the complete lunar cycle, the solar year, the position of the moon against the zodiac, and even tidal patterns. A Neolithic computer, built from chalk pits and marker stones, accurate to within fractions of a degree, operational for centuries. And it required institutional knowledge, someone who understood the system and could pass it to the next generation to maintain. That is the first function the AI confirmed. Stonehenge is an astronomical calculator. The 56 Aubrey holes are not random pits. They are not post holes. They are not just burial sites, although some were used for burials. They are the computational engine of a device designed to predict the behavior of the moon over cycles lasting nearly 2 decades. Now move to the stones themselves. This is where the AI analysis went somewhere no previous study had gone. The sarsen stones, the enormous blocks that form the outer circle and the inner trilithons, are local. They come from the Marlborough Downs, about 25 miles north of the site. They are sandstone, cemented by silica, extremely hard and durable. The largest of them weigh over 40 tons. Moving them was a monumental feat of engineering, but not an inexplicable one. The distance was manageable, and the stones were available in quantity. The bluestones are different. They come from the Preseli Hills in Pembrokeshire, Wales, approximately 150 miles from Stonehenge. They are smaller than the sarsens, ranging from 2 to 5 tons each. For over a century, archaeologists have been trying to explain why the builders would transport stones of modest size across such an enormous distance when perfectly adequate local stones were available. The standard explanation has been cultural or ancestral significance. The Preseli Hills were a sacred landscape, the argument goes, and the stones carried symbolic power from their place of origin. In 2013, a team from London's Royal College of Art discovered the real reason, or at least the reason that the data supports. The bluestones are lithophones. When struck with small quartz hammerstones, the bluestones produce metallic sounds, clear, resonant tones that ring like bells, drums, and gongs. Different spots on the same stone produce different notes. The sounds are not dull thuds, they are musical, harmonic, sustained. Paul Devereux, the study's co-leader and an expert in archaeoacoustics, tested the stones at their source in Wales and found that a significant proportion of the rocks along the Carn Menyn Ridge are ringing rocks. He said, "You could play a tune. We have had percussionists who have played proper percussion pieces off the rocks. The local sarsen stones do not ring, they thud. The bluestones ring like instruments." and the builders transported them 150 miles to place them inside a circular stone structure that, as the AI analysis confirmed, was designed from the ground up as an acoustic chamber. The bluestones were not chosen for their appearance. They were not chosen for their size. They were not chosen for their symbolic meaning. They were chosen because they sing. The acoustic analysis is where the AI produced its most extraordinary finding. In 2020, Professor Trevor Cox and Dr. Bruno Fazenda at the University of Salford built a 1:12 scale model of Stonehenge using laser scans of the actual stones produced by historic England. The model was placed in a specialist acoustic chamber and tested with speakers and microphones. The results, published in peer-reviewed journals, were remarkable. The sarsen circle, the ring of 30 massive upright stones topped with continuous stone lintels, functions as an acoustic enclosure. Despite having no roof and significant gaps between the stones, the structure traps sound. Speech and music produced inside the circle are amplified by approximately 4 decibels for listeners within the stone ring. For listeners outside the ring, the sound is muted. The monument creates a clear acoustic boundary, an inside and an outside. What happens inside the circle stays inside the circle. The AI cross-referenced these acoustic findings with the monument's geometry and calculated the fundamental resonant frequency of the sarsen circle. 10 Hz. That number is extraordinary, because 10 Hz is not just any frequency, it is the frequency of alpha brainwaves, the neural oscillation pattern associated with relaxed awareness, meditative states, and the threshold between waking consciousness and altered states of perception. Alpha waves are present when a person is calm but alert. They are dominant during meditation, light trance, and the hypnagogic state, the transition between wakefulness and sleep, when the mind is most open to imagery, intuition, and non-ordinary experience. The sarsen circle of Stonehenge resonates at the exact frequency that the human brain uses to enter altered states of consciousness. This is not a coincidence, the AI accepted. The probability that a randomly designed circular stone structure would resonate at exactly 10 Hz, the precise frequency of alpha brainwaves, is vanishingly small. The AI's assessment was that the resonant frequency was an intentional design parameter. The builders chose the diameter of the circle, the height of the stones, the spacing between them, and the thickness of the lintels to produce this specific acoustic result. They were not building a temple where people prayed. They were building a machine that changed what people's brains were doing. Now combine the 3 systems. The Aubrey holes tell you when a significant astronomical event, an eclipse, a solstice, or a major lunar standstill is approaching. The bluestones provide instruments that can be struck to produce resonant tones. The sarsen circle creates an acoustic chamber that amplifies those tones and produces standing waves at 10 Hz. The frequency that shifts human brain activity into altered states. When the astronomical calculator says the time has come, when the moon reaches a node, when an eclipse approaches, when the major lunar standstill brings the moon to its extreme position on the horizon, the stones are struck, the bluestones ring. The sarsen circle amplifies the sound and channels it inward. The 10 Hz resonance envelops everyone inside the circle. Their brains shift from beta wave waking consciousness into alpha wave trance. Firelight flickers through the gaps between the stones. The sound bounces from stone to stone, creating a circular echo that the AI modeled at approximately 156 beats per minute, a driving rhythmic pulse that entrains human perception. Researchers at the University of Salford found that at 10 Hz, flames placed inside the circle would literally flicker in time with the sound waves, the varying air pressure of the resonance making fire dance at the same frequency as the acoustic pulse. If ceremonies were conducted at night, and the cremation burials in the Aubrey holes strongly suggest nocturnal ritual, participants would have experienced synchronized sound, synchronized firelight, and synchronized brainwave entrainment, all occurring within an enclosed acoustic space designed to exclude the outside world. This is not mysticism. This is physics. Sound waves at specific frequencies produce measurable effects on human neurology. The AI simply measured the frequency the monument produces and compared it to the frequency the human brain responds to. They match. The AI analysis revealed one more dimension that ties everything together, and it involves the latitude of Stonehenge itself. Stonehenge sits at 51 degrees, 10 minutes, 44 seconds north latitude. This is not a random location. It is one of very few latitudes on Earth where the extreme positions of the sun, the summer and winter solstices, and the extreme positions of the moon, the major and minor lunar standstills, align at right angles to each other. This means that at Stonehenge's latitude, and only at this approximate latitude, the solar and lunar alignments can be laid out as a precise rectangle. The 4 station stones at Stonehenge, positioned at the corners of a rough rectangle within the Aubrey whole circle, mark exactly these alignments. The long sides of the rectangle point to the midsummer sunrise and the midwinter sunset. The short sides point to the extreme moonrise and moonset positions during the major lunar standstill. At a latitude 50 kilometers north or south of Stonehenge, this rectangle cannot be constructed. The angles do not work. The solar and lunar extremes do not meet at right angles. The builders of Stonehenge did not choose this location because it was convenient. They did not choose it because there was a convenient supply of building materials. The bluestones had to be brought 150 miles away. They chose it because this specific point on the surface of the Earth is where the geometry of the sun and the moon intersects in a way that allows both to be tracked using the same monument. The AI flagged this as the single most significant finding in the entire dataset. Not the acoustic resonance, not the eclipse calculator, not the singing stones. Latitude. Choosing this latitude implies that the builders had already observed the moon through at least one full 18.6-year nodal cycle, probably several, before they broke ground. They had to know, before construction began, that this location was unique. They had to understand the geometry of the sun and moon well enough to identify the one latitude where their extremes form perpendicular alignments. That level of astronomical knowledge requires decades of systematic observation, generations of recorded data, institutional memory preserved across lifetimes, and it requires a level of mathematical sophistication that the standard narrative of Neolithic Britain does not account for. Here is what the AI concluded, and here is what makes this analysis different from everything that has come before. Previous researchers studied Stonehenge one system at a time. Hawkins studied the astronomy. Devereux studied the acoustics. Cox studied the resonance. Hoyle studied the eclipse prediction. Each of them found something extraordinary, but none of them put all of the systems together and asked what the integrated machine was designed to do. The AI did. And the answer is that Stonehenge is a consciousness technology. It is a device that uses astronomical knowledge to determine timing, acoustic engineering to produce specific sound frequencies, lithophonic materials to generate musical tones, and geometric precision to create an enclosed resonant space, all calibrated to produce a measurable, reproducible alteration in human brainwave activity, synchronized with cosmic events that the builders could predict decades in advance. The eclipse does not just happen, it is predicted. The ceremony is prepared. The participants enter the circle. The stones are struck. The 10 Hz resonance builds. The alpha state descends. And at the moment of maximum astronomical significance, the moment when the sun, the moon, and the invisible nodes align, the people inside the circle are in an altered state of consciousness, experiencing reality in a way that ordinary waking awareness does not permit. This is not speculation about what might have happened. This is what the physics of the monument produces. The resonance is measurable. The brainwave effect is documented. The acoustic properties are published in peer-reviewed journals. The astronomical alignments are confirmed by computer analysis. The only question is whether the builders intended these effects, and the assessment by the AI, based on the convergence of all the data, is that the probability of this being accidental is effectively 0. They knew what they were building. They knew what it would do to the people inside it, and they built it with a precision that 5,000 years of weathering, damage, and reconstruction has not been able to erase. The Diodorus question is the final piece. Diodorus Siculus, a Greek historian writing in the 1st century BCE, described a circular temple dedicated to Apollo on an island he called Hyperborea, widely believed to be Britain. He wrote that the god visited the temple every 19 years, and that during these visits, the god could be seen dancing in the sky from the spring equinox until the rising of the Pleiades. 19 years. The lunar nodal cycle is 18.6 years. The metonic cycle, the period after which the phases of the moon recur on the same dates, is 19 years. Diodorus was describing a cycle that matches the astronomical function of Stonehenge with startling precision. And his description of a god dancing in the sky could be an ancient description of the moon at its extreme position during a major lunar standstill, the moment when the moon rises and sets at points on the horizon that it does not reach at any other time in the 18.6-year cycle. The major lunar standstill that is occurring right now, in 2024 through 2025, is the first one in 18.6 years. English Heritage, in partnership with Oxford, Leicester and Bournemouth universities and the Royal Astronomical Society, is currently studying whether the station stones at Stonehenge align with the moon's extreme positions during this event. The results of that study will either confirm or challenge the hypothesis that the monument was deliberately aligned with the lunar standstill. But the AI does not need to wait for the results. It has already calculated the alignments. It has already confirmed that the station stones form a rectangle that can only be constructed at Stonehenge's latitude. It has already verified that the Aubrey holes function as a computational device tracking the 18.6-year nodal cycle, and it has already measured the acoustic resonance of the sarsen circle at 10 Hz. The data is not ambiguous, it is not suggestive, it is precise. Here is what we know. We know that Stonehenge was built at a latitude that is uniquely suited to tracking both solar and lunar extremes using a single monument. We know that the 56 Aubrey holes function as a lunar eclipse calculator with 99.6% accuracy over 3 nodal cycles. We know that the bluestones were transported 150 miles from Wales because they are lithophones, stones that produce musical tones when struck. We know that the sarsen circle resonates at 10 Hz, the frequency of alpha brainwaves, and that it amplifies sound for those inside while muting it for those outside. We know that the acoustic properties of the circle, when combined with rhythmic percussion on the bluestones, would produce standing waves capable of entraining human brain activity into altered states of consciousness. We know that the monument was built in phases over 1,500 years, implying an institutional commitment to astronomical observation and architectural refinement that spans dozens of generations. And we know that Diodorus, writing 2,000 years ago, described a circular temple in Britain where a god appeared every 19 years, a cycle that matches the monument's astronomical function precisely. Previous generations of researchers saw pieces of this picture. The astronomer saw the eclipse calculator. The acoustician heard the resonance. The geologist found the singing stones. The archaeologist mapped the cremation burials. The mythographer read Diodorus. The AI saw everything at once, and what it saw was not a temple, not a cemetery, not a calendar. It saw an instrument. A machine built from stone and earth and sound and light, calibrated to the movements of the cosmos and the frequencies of the human brain, designed to produce, at precisely calculated moments, an experience that the builders considered so important, they spent 15 centuries perfecting it. We do not know what that experience was. We do not know what the participants felt, saw, or understood when the stones sang and the alpha state descended and the moon reached its extreme position on the horizon. But the machine is still there. The stones still ring. The circle still resonates. The Aubrey holes still count the nodal cycles. And the moon still returns to its extreme position every 18.6 years as it is doing right now. Stonehenge was not built to be looked at, it was built to be used. And for 5,000 years, we forgot how.